you say you will when you won't. Oh baby, do baby when you don't. Let me know, honey, how love feels. Is the truth now? Is love real? Honey, don't.
Good morning. I'm Tom Remington. Welcome to another episode of Open Air with Tom Remington. This is kind of take two on this issue. I did a video on this yesterday and decided to pull it because I let my emotions get the best of me. And it's funny because my wife always accuses me of not being an emotional person and not reacting to things. You generally have a very calm and quiet demeanor, but yesterday I got a little bit worked up, and I used a couple of words that, isn't completely characteristic of me. So I decided to pull it and redo it. And as you'll see that from the title of the thing, we're going to talk about what I consider probably to be the most inept president perhaps of all time, at least in modern history. Because I wasn't around during the other years. I was actually born the same year that President Eisenhower was elected in 1952. So I've been around from Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, the other Bush, and now Barack Hussein Obama. And many of us tried to warn the voters long before the election time, how this guy just has no qualifications at all to be president of the United States, but he talked a big story and people fell for it, and now we're paying the consequences for it. And the latest in a long thing, going back to the emotion thing, I get very emotional when we're talking about American soldiers, men, women, our kids, being killed because of politics. And there's no room for it in our society, but it's being played out to its fullest, and it's totally unacceptable, it's inexcusable, and it's deplorable. And the other day, President Obama went before an assembled group of American soldiers, and I want to read what he said to them. And this is in regards to his lack of any kind of leadership to make a decision on what we need to do in Afghanistan. His military people on the ground in Afghanistan have told him what they would like and need to win the war, and has failed to make a decision, and it's been weeks. But this is what he said. I will never rush the solemn decision of sending you, meaning the troops, into harm's way. Well, I'm not sure if this guy's still in bed sleeping or not, but our soldiers are in harm's way now, Mr. President, right now. As you read that, as you spoke those words, our men and women are in harm's way. They're being killed every day. And you sit on the sidelines not doing anything and making a decision. The morale of the soldiers is down. It's probably the lowest it's been since the war began. I don't know that that's completely true, but I have read that soldiers' morale is really low. I have very close friends and family in both theaters, in Afghanistan and Iraq. And you sitting there doing nothing is inexcusable. It's lack of leadership. You whine and you complain that you inherited this. I inherited a bad economy. I inherited a mess. I inherited the war. No, you didn't. You didn't inherit it. You volunteered for it. You're the one. It was your decision to run to be president of the United States. Right? So, any man with any kind of leadership skills once he took office, would accept the responsibilities of what was placed in his lap and would deal with them, and you don't. You should be ashamed. Our women and children are dying. Our soldiers are dying is what I meant to say, not our women and children. Our men and women in uniform are dying while you're hedging your bets. You know, your press secretary, you know, Baghdad Bob Gibbs, yeah, that's about what he's turning into. He sounds like Baghdad Bob. Remember Baghdad Bob? He's a guy that, you know, the Americans had taken over Iraq and had taken control of Baghdad, and he goes on TV and says, everything's under control, we're repelling the enemy, you know. Well, Baghdad Bob Gibbs, you know, he comes out and says, well, we think the president might make a decision, perhaps sometime after the runoff election in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and between then and when he leaves to go on his trip to Asia. What's he going to do? Go over to Asia and play golf? That's all he does is play golf and campaign and vacation. Oh, but he's working. Oh, he's a hard-working man. Okay, so Baghdad Bob tells us that he might make his decision during those times. Or perhaps he'll wait until after his Asia trip to make his announcement of what he's going to do in Afghanistan. Because he doesn't want to rush into a decision that would place our troops in harm's way. They're already in harm's way, President Obama. Open your eyes. Admit it, but you won't. You refuse to even acknowledge the fact that we're at war. And because of that, I believe soldiers are dying unnecessarily. And yet you refuse to do anything about it. This morning on the news, I'm watching you standing there with a big salute as they're bringing flag-draped coffins off the plane from Afghanistan. How did you feel about that moment, Mr. President? Did you feel responsible? While you're waffling in your decision of what to do, are more of our soldiers going to die unnecessarily because you can't make a decision or won't make a decision or don't know how to make a decision? No, as I said, we tried to tell people way back before the election that you weren't qualified to be President of the United States. You had no experience, and unfortunately your on-the-job training may in fact be costing soldiers their lives. And your politics is doing the same thing. And it's I find it disgusting. And I don't know. You anger me so. I don't know why the American people aren't more angry and outspoken about this. I have no idea. But anyway, that's what I wanted to convey. I'm Tom Remington. You go out and have yourself a nice day, and we'll see you next time right here.